Big names coming into crypto. Today we'll be breaking down how Sony is starting to make some moves into Web3 and all things crypto. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get into it today. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Wilder World, a new dimension in reality. You guys need to go over to wilderworld.com. Check it out because this is one of those games, especially if you think Web3 and where it's going. Wilder World is one of those multiplayer metaverse games that leverages kind of the latest advancements in photorealism. You'll get a chance to see what they're doing with Wyoming. And in reality, I think gaming is to be one of those categories that continues to surprise everybody. And I think what you'll see today, as we start to break down today's episode, will kind of go along with that. So make sure and check it out. We'll leave a link down below. All right, let's go over to a couple of points here. The first one I want to hit on is Sony getting ready to launch a crypto exchange in Japan with their new acquired Amber platform. This, of course, will get into things that we've talked a little bit about in the past, and I'll explain that. But Whalefin has been renamed to S.BLOX, and this will be the new platform for a crypto exchange. We've been anticipating this for quite some time. We've had several videos on this. I'll show some of that, but this is one of the things here, of course, is Whalefin has a lot of similarities to what Robinhood has, with exception of one thing, and that is NFTs. So that'll be a big factor. Oh, and another thing, and that is being able to take out loans. So the fact that we're seeing so much advancement, and of course by Sony being a part of this, a pretty huge step in the right direction, I think, for platforms like this. So Whalefin soon to become a major exchange with Sony support. A couple other things I want to show here. Of course, Whalefin enjoys 0% gas fees right now, 0% royalty-free fees, and of course this is coming in from both LooksRare and also OpenSea integration. So you can kind of see there's an opportunity here, especially in Japan, to really kind of set a tone for not only what's happening in Asia and the Pacific Rim, but also potentially here in the United States. And if you look back on our shows in the past, this was a video that we did, gosh, almost 2 years ago. And it showed where some of the acquisition moves were taking place, most of which you've already seen: Take-Two, Zynga, yes, Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft, and of course Sony and Bungie. All of these are in the process, if not already, on their way into Web3 in a very big way. So pretty cool that that has been working for the last 1.5 to 2 years, and now we're starting to see some of the results. Other things we showed: Metaverse Power Players. These were just some of the sentiment scenarios. Activision, Sony, and even Nintendo potentially playing out within this in the future. I think this is a factor that we're going to look at maybe in a year or two from now and see this was really kind of the breakout zone of some of the biggest companies and also some of the biggest entities around traditional Web 2 that are starting to make their way into Web 3. Another factor, we did a video a couple of months ago that showed a lot more integrations into the potential for Sony's bank. This is where it starts to tie everything together. And I want to go to a clip real quick that gets into a little bit more around a project called Astar that was in this partnership. Take a look.
The interesting thing is the Japanese government made Web3 as a national strategy. We already disclosed the information to make a blockchain together with Sony, which include node management service and indexer service and wallet management. And we are focusing on entertainment right now. And we created a joint venture called Sony Network Communications Lab. We combine Sony and Lab, our company. Gaming, music, picture, they have a bank, they have a car, they have insurance, and a lot in a global scale. This can be one of the biggest projects. And I'm trying to make it happen within coming months.
All right, so that was Sota Watanabe, and he is on Twitter here, and it shows here's a Japanese article you may know, head of Web3, who is going to lead the exchange, the one we're talking about at Sony, is our external director of the company. We've made a plan of the chain layer 1.5 years ago, and of course now they've started to enter the execution phase. This is going to be pretty big because I think it will set the tone for a lot of companies. Also, I think this will give a wake-up call to Microsoft. I think we'll see a wake-up call already with Meta, and I'll explain a little bit more about that because this I think starts to bring some of the biggest tech companies forward into the crypto space. Okay, this is coming in from a little bit of their internal documents, but you can kind of see we're going to see a bit more toward Token 2049. This will be a pretty big event that I think we'll start to see some of this revealed. So a lot happening later this fall. And of course, as you go further, this is a bigger issue. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys right there. This is the Japanese Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, will give a speech at this year's WebEx conference in Tokyo, and they're going to be talking basically about Web3 in Japan. This, of course, gets into the culture of what we've seen from the Japanese population, but also it starts to play into where Web3 is going and how governments and entities like this are supporting it. So again, not necessarily something that we've seen outside of the EU, but here in the US, hopefully we'll start to see some of that kind of starting to match pace with what we're seeing in Asia and the EU. All right, so if you take a look at this right here, Sony Bank tied to, and you'll notice a big icon right there, Securitize. Now remember Securitize, we've had them on our show before, and this is BITL tied to BlackRock. Now remember that there's a couple of things within this that are very critical. I think the key here, obviously Sony being an entertainment company, they're connecting their app for NFTs, other Web3 entertainment, rewards, all this linked to their financial services. This is where it starts to integrate in a much bigger way. And in fact, now that we've got an exchange coming in, could be a pretty big, significant move for Sony. If you look further down in the article, they of course are launching this in July with Securitize. So everything moving in the right direction here for Sony. Now here is Sony Bank Connect. Now I had to translate this, but this just shows you the integration that they're doing with some of their premium IP. And I think this is just the beginning. So we'll probably see quite a bit of news coming about in the next few months with this. Let me go to a clip real quick, because this gets into what blockchain is going to be involved in all of this. It goes a little bit more in detail. Take a look.
So we started from Polkadot ecosystem and expanding to other network. And we are connecting each other. Astar ZK has been deployed, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the networking effect is pretty much limited. In terms of the real life use case, Astar has been fighting with Polygon in Japan. According to the poll by Japan Blockchain Association, 44% of the Japanese developers chose Astar, 25% chose Polygon. So we combine, then in total 70%.
So mainly what they're saying there is that Astar is becoming the select chain in Japan as we start to see a lot of different potential projects line up on this. So pretty big deal, because Polygon, of course, well known, but for it not to be able to take the pole position there, that kind of says something. All right, another thing, Sony, of course, signs a patent for super fungible token. This, of course, will tie into Web3 gaming and what we'll see going forward. So they're already in play there. If you take a look at some of the gaming that we'll see here, just to give you an example of the tied in that they did with the mini puffs, etc., all tied to Ghostbusters. And if you look further down into this, this was something that was kind of interesting. This was presented by Big Head Club and friends. Now you guys remember Big Head Club, right? If you scan down further there, well, bam, Stoner Cats tied into this. So now we've got Sony, Big Head Club connected, and we've already seen this before. Lots of changes about to happen, I think, in a pretty big way. So pretty cool here. On other news, MetaQuest, of course, could be the US's claim to major transition, especially from Web 2 to Web 3. Here's a good example. MetaQuest versus the trajectory of the iPhone. I was surprised at this when I first saw it, but in the early going, you can kind of see here the kind of track that they're looking at in comparison. I mean, even Instagram versus what we've seen with MetaQuest. And remember, MetaQuest has a lot of new innovation coming out this year. The fact that we didn't see a resounding success with the Apple Vision Pro, I think still puts Meta and the MetaQuest devices in pole position. The key here is going to be the device itself. How does it change up, and can it get mass adoption to continue at the pace? Because there's a big jump curve here for the iPhone in that first 6 years to get 78 million in total sales. You look at what Sony has been able to do or trying to do, they stumbled a bit on this one, and this was their first attempt. So it's very possible that Meta could take the pole position here, tying in Web 2, Web 3 NFTs, at least for the United States, in terms of a technological battle that seems to be taking place. Another one that you have to kind of consider right here, Sony's Ultimate Team right now with playing the new Frozen Empire game on Ghostbusters. This is all tied into, guess what? Meta. So here's an opportunity. If we look at where AR, VR, XR is going to be going and the potential for NFTs, in-game assets, all that kind of stuff, this is truly a Web 2 to Web 3 hyperleap. And I think the key here, the one company that probably could lead the way, I want to go to a clip real quick that goes into a little bit more from Zuckerberg talking a little bit about the roadmap. Take a look.
I think that there are basically going to be 3 different products. There's going to be kind of the displayless glasses that just do AI and can capture content. Then I think that there's going to be another step up where it's not going to be full holographic display in the prototype version that we have that I'm really excited that we're getting closer to showing. It's not like the most stylish thing, but it's good. It's unmistakably glasses, right? It's not a headset. And then I think there's going to be the most premium version, which is kind of the full field of view. We're almost ready to start showing the prototype version of the full holographic glasses. We're focused on building the full consumer version of it rather than selling the prototype, but we're going to start demonstrating the prototype to people. And that's wild. I mean, every person who I've shown it to so far is just like their reaction. It's like giddy. I'm really looking forward to showing that to more people. So I think that's cool.
Wow. So normally when it comes to technology, Zuckerberg's pretty, fluent in being able to explain something. He kind of got caught off guard there in the sense that he must really be impressed with what they've been able to come up with. Now, remember, key here, I think, is the transition period for adoption, because some of the key things that could happen here from Web 2 to Web 3, NFT integration, the key is going to be how quickly can we see real adoption going forward. Yat Siu of Animoca Brands talks about how things might come out in the financial space. Take a look.
Will there be another crypto ETF after Ethereum?
I think so.
Interesting.
And the reason why I think that's the case is that because Hong Kong has already essentially opened up towards multiple tokens. An example, for instance, CF Benchmarks has actually last year issued a GameFi index of 20 GameFi tokens. And that to me is, again, an indication of the next step on that would basically be to look and turn that potentially into an ETF, maybe of a basket of GameFi tokens. But also, it's not just Hong Kong, right? I mean, Japan is looking at it right now.
A lot of people are hoping for the Solana ETF, so we'll see.
I mean, I think a lot of people are hoping for all sorts of ETFs, right?
Yeah.
But certainly, I can see why the Solana community would be very keen on that.
Right, definitely.
Obviously, we know Solana ETFs have been filed already by VanEck and others. Yat Siu is right, though. One of the key things here to move a market forward is getting these bundles, getting people aware of products like this. But the other thing is being able to get that adoption curve into mainstream. And he goes on to explain a little bit more about that in this clip. Take a look.
So this year, the combination of all the new games that are coming out, we ourselves invested in over 150 games that are all launching, and then our own MoCaverse platform as well, together with platforms that we see like with Telegram and the Ton ecosystem, I think will really, onboard potentially, we've been saying this a lot, but I think we'll get to 100 million native Web3 users and growing, possibly even by this year.
Wow, that's a great prediction.
100 million native Web3 users. That is a significant lift, and it could be just the beginning of one of these big, sharp curves that we see over the next couple of years. Now, with all that being said, all this is great news, very good news, I think, for the Pacific Rim, Japan, and as Yat Siu was even saying, just what we'll see in Hong Kong. Let's move back here to the States, and I want you to listen to a clip here. And this is a clip coming back from the Wyoming government around how they're moving forward. Take a look.
With these more complex filings, how long will it take theoretically? I mean, the ones that you are getting on average, how long does it take?
It's not the filing itself, it's all the ancillary preparation and tail end work that it takes to process this filing manually. All of that time takes away from other manual interventions that our office does.
Appreciate that answer. Mr. Secretary, go ahead.
It's been very difficult, candidly, with appropriations. I mean, there are agencies that have had 10 to 15 position increases when ours has had none, and we're one of the few revenue centers for the state. So it's perplexing.
And what the stable token is building is orders of magnitude less complicated than what this appears to be. That $2 million as designed here seems to be optimistic.
But I do think this bill is premature. Funding and other issues, I would suggest that we begin, first of all, by narrowing the scope of this bill, by turning it into a feasibility study of whether this can be done at all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary of State's made that clear, but I'm hearing everything that's being said. I'm processing it. I'm still really struggling.
So as you can see, the bureaucratic nature of the United States and how we kind of construct our world business is starting to show up. And I think we're starting to see this in politics. We're starting to see this in the alignment of how bureaucrats kind of control some of this technology going forward. The fact that Wyoming, which was really one of the first states to even show an inkling of innovation, starting to struggle just with being able to fund these kind of components and these kind of initiatives, that's a huge step in the wrong direction. And when you look at what's happening in Japan, within Hong Kong, a lot of what's going on now with MiCA in Europe, it just makes us look like we're sitting on our hands. I'm hoping that other states are really understanding we are literally at the threshold of a major technological shift going forward. So it's a big one right here. Good point right here is Jeremy Laird's Twitter. They kind of get it. Right here, of course, is MiCA launching July 1st. It'll be remembered as the major moment in development of new internet financial system. Can you imagine that being said outside the halls of Silicon Valley? Yeah, this is MiCA. So this is Circle, an American company that had to go to Europe and be able to initiate a stablecoin product because we have been sitting on our hands here in the US. So hopefully all this changes, guys, but the only way it does, of course, is to get the right people in office to make sure get out there and vote. And if you're not in our Diamond Circle, that's another way. Strap yourself with education and community, because protection is connection kind of thing. And the way you do that is just by joining the Diamond Circle down below. We've got a lot of new stuff happening over there. And all you have to do is sign up via email. We'll notify you of the advancements, also some of the things we do in terms of additional content. Check it out down on the link below. All right, if you're not following me on X, make sure and do that. It's just @PaulBaron. I'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.